enemy in the Middle East, Iran, something that many presidents before him had been asked to join in an attack on.
We've established that you have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee. Yes, you do have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee?
Yes.
Who won the 2020 election? A man who had worked with the Sinaloa cartel to facilitate massive narco trafficking into the United States.
I don't remember the specifics of that case.
3 questions, 3 moments. It starts with a question that Donald Trump has spent years trying to avoid. Who really won the 2020 election? Watch what happens when Jay Clayton is forced to answer it under oath.
Who won the 2020 election?
I'm not going to do this with you.
This is a job interview. We've established that you have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee. Yes, you do have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee?
Yes.
Who won the 2020 election?
Like I said, I'm not going to get into that with you.
But you do have an obligation to be honest and forthright with the committee.
Is anything that I just said not honest or forthright?
Yes, you're not being honest or forthright. Who won the 2020 election?
I think I've answered the question. We can keep doing this.
Well, we're going to keep doing it because you're not being honest and forthright.
No, I'm not going to engage in the theater.
It's a simple question, Mr. Clayton.
And I've answered.
Who won the 2020 presidential election?
That was about the past. This next confrontation is about the future. Piers Morgan turns the pressure up, accusing a Trump ally of repeating one of America's biggest foreign policy disasters. The exchange quickly turns into one of the most heated moments of the entire debate.
And that, Trump, I felt, got that. He always talked about, I didn't agree with the Iraq War. I wish it hadn't happened. If I'm president, we will not be doing, these senseless wars in the Middle East. It's not going to happen. And yet here he is in the middle of, arguably the biggest one imaginable, with the biggest enemy in the Middle East, Iran, something that many presidents before him had been asked to join in an attack on and had always said no for quite solid reasons. I just feel like he's taken a massive gamble here. Is it a gamble worth taking, in your estimation?
Listen, I think that it's interesting to think that perhaps Trump is looking at this strategic situation long-term for America and the world. And he decided that what was most important in the long term for our kids and our kids' kids is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. And if that's what he is trying to accomplish, it seems like he is doing a good job of ensuring that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon now or in the future. And if that's the gamble, if that's what he's putting on the table and he's trying to stop, it certainly looks like he is going to pull that off. Obviously, there's been some American casualties, and that's always horrible. But on the whole, it's been a relatively small number of casualties, and we're still making progress. I think this is sort of a new form of siege warfare. Like we saw in the past, you'd surround a castle and just wait them out. And it certainly seems like that is, on a big picture, what we are looking to do to Iran. It's a siege warfare, shut them down economically, continue to do damage to their infrastructure, and eventually, will they have the will to continue? I think that's the big question. When will their will break? And the only thing that's going to tell us that is time.
Would you be comfortable about a commitment of a large number of ground forces going into Iran?
I don't think that's going to be necessary. I don't think they have any capability to require large number of ground forces going into Iran. I don't see it happening. I would have to see what situation unfolded that would demand that. But, let me be clear. I'm not a big pro-war guy over here that wants us to run around invading countries. No.
But when your mission statement, and again, I can't think of anyone better qualified to answer this, when your mission statement and position seems to change on the whim of a day today, and when the original goals, which were supposed to be achieved very quickly, clearly weren't achieved, and when you get into a longer war of the kind that Donald Trump always vowed he wouldn't get into, it looks to me, I've known him a long time, that he wants to get out of this, but doesn't quite know how to get out of it. because the Iranian regime remains there. It hasn't been taken out. The IRGC remain in control. The people haven't risen up in the way people were led to believe would probably happen. The Strait of Hormuz has become this secondary asymmetric warfare, if you like, with the Iranians pretty much controlling it to this day. Then you have all the attacks on the Gulf states and the damage that's done. I look at it all and I think there's no enriched uranium has been handed over. There was the 12-day war last summer, which we were assured had put back the Iranian nuclear program decades. Well, then why are we attacking them 8 months later to do exactly the same thing? None of it is making much sense to me. Does it make sense to you? Or as somebody who I imagine, just from what I've read about you, had very clear mission goals when you had men serving under you, because you understood that in warfare in particular, you've got to have that. You've got to know exactly what you're doing, how you're going to do it, what the exit strategy is, and what victory looks like. I don't see any of that here.
Yeah, and I think from Trump's perspective, I would say he looks at things more like a business of, hey, the market is changing, the competitors are doing this, we need to make some adjustments based on what we're seeing in the market real time, and that's what he's doing. And at least that's what it looks like to me, and making these adjustments, again, entering negotiations and announcing that looks like we've got a deal, and then a couple days later launching bombs, that's what you do when you're trying to adapt to a situation that you're not exactly sure how it's going to end up.
If you were serving, Jocko, if you were serving and that was going on, and every single day the commander-in-chief was posting stuff on social media, often completely contradicting what he said the day before, is that not incredibly unsettling for the military? Now, my brother was an army colonel in the British Army. I know he says it's just like it's the ultimate nightmare when the guy at the top is out there telling everyone what he's going to do, then he doesn't do it, then he does some of it, then he says these guys are great, then he says they've all got to be killed, then he says he's going to blow up Iran, next day he wants to do a deal, and so on. This constant contradictory stream of consciousness. If you're actually serving and you're risking your life during all this, it's going to be a nightmare, isn't it?
I think it would definitely be challenging. And listen, you can talk to your brother that was in the Army. The chain of command makes changes, and it impacts at such a high level across the board. One day you think you're doing something, the next day you think you're doing something else. The things changes all the time. In the military, we're used to that. But I'll tell you who I imagine is much more troubled by the seemingly erratic behavior of Donald Trump, and that is the Iranian leadership. I bet they are totally confused and have no idea what he's going to do next. And my guess is that's exactly where the president wants to keep them.
And finally, the moment that set the tone before the debate had even found its rhythm. A simple yes or no question about one of Trump's most controversial pardons. And almost immediately, the witness is on the defensive. Watch how fast this confrontation escalates.
Senator Ossoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Clayton, welcome. Congratulations on your nomination. You have an obligation to be honest and forthright with this committee, correct?
Yes.
And is it the case in the Juan Orlando Hernandez case that the President of the United States pardoned a man who had worked with the Sinaloa cartel to facilitate massive narco trafficking into the United States?
I don't remember the specifics of that case.
He was convicted in your district.
He was convicted.
Yeah.
We convict
Right.
a lot of people for a lot of drugs.
Convicted of narco trafficking, yes?
I believe so.
No, so at massive scale, yes?
Well, you're telling me what I know. That's kind of, he was, I believe, look, I'll take your word for it. He was a convicted narco trafficker.
Did the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, pardon a convicted narco trafficker?
I believe we just discussed that. The president provided a pardon, yes.
Yes or no? Did the President of the United States pardon a convicted narco trafficker?
Yes.
What do you think was the most revealing moment in today's debate? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next debate.